Hello, good morning to everyone in the house. If you can see my screen and you can hear my voice clearly, kindly type in hi in the comment section, please. Okay, great, Carrie. Thank you very much. Lester 6241, good morning. Thank you for the confirmation. Domka, good morning to you. Thanks for the confirmation. 435, good morning. Trust you had a good night rest. Hello, Scan. Thank you. Okay, great. Glad to hear that. Wrong word. Okay, great. Thank you very much for this confirmation. All right. Once again, I welcome you all to yet another beautiful session of Experience Speed Live with my humble self, Sheriff Daramola. As usual, I shall be taking you on a journey through the chart where we shall be evaluating price movement using chart patterns, trend identification of trends, and also market structure, and we shall be using these parameters to identify trading opportunities lining up for us during the New York session. And in addition to this, we are also going to be looking at the pairs we deliberated on yesterday, because we had pairs we talked about yesterday, which happens to be the beginning of a new week. We shall be looking at how well these pairs are doing, and we're going to be looking at which pairs we are going to negate or which pairs we are still going to hold on for the new week, and also if there are any advices that might come up, I will be sharing with you during the session. So my advice is that you stick with me through to the end of the session so that you don't miss out on any opportunity lining up for us. And if you do have a pair or commodity you want us to look at, feel free to drop it in the comment section, and I promise to try as much as possible to squeeze it in to my schedule for today. So without further ado, let's dive into the chart and let's see what is happening. So as usual, the first pair we want to be looking at today is that of the US oil. And so let's see what is happening on the US oil, as I think we've been having tendencies of a bearish momentum in the last 24 hours. So let's see what we have here. So we are right on the 1 hour time frame of the US oil. And if you remember our expectations yesterday, we had two scenarios that we were looking out for, the bullish momentum and a bearish momentum in that regard. And one thing we said here is this, that our key level at $102 area shall guide us this week, as we can see our structure has been holding this area in the last 1 week. We can see this area since we saw the breakdown of that demand of that key level. We saw this area held that area supply zone, and then we saw a break above again one more time, and this area became a demand zone at this point. Then now we are in a dilemma, in a situation where we don't know how price is going to play out as price continue to oscillate right around and above the key level at $102 area since the beginning of this week. So during our session yesterday, I explained how to take advantage of the bullish momentum as we saw a breakout of the bearish trend line, the dotted red line on your screen. We saw a break above of this bearish trend line. We saw our price came to do something that looks like a retest of structure. In fact, we had two retest of structure, and I made mention of a key level, a neckline sitting at $103.50, where we were waiting for price to break above this area, do a retest of the structure, after which we'll be looking out for the potential for a bullish momentum from this place. Hold on a second, let me bring this out a little bit so we can see what I'm talking about. But unfortunately, we see that price break below that area, and in fact broke below the $102 area during the early hours of today's session. So going into the New York session, how do we intend taking advantage of this move? From all ramifications, from all scenarios and setups aligning here, it looks more like price is going to be going bearish in the week. And why have I said that? If we look at a long-term perspective on this, we can see that price has been bearish since the later part of June. And if we look at the lower highs at this point and connect the series of lower highs, after bringing out our line chart, we would observe that we have a uniform trend line at this point. And if we look left, we can see that, if we look right, we can see that price has been finding it difficult to move back into that trend line, to respect it or break out of it. And what we noticed at this point is that since the rejection of this demand zone at $95 area, price has continued to find it difficult to push further than the $105 area in the last 2 weeks. So what we want to be looking forward to now is a breakdown of that key level at $102 area to give us a signal that price is tending towards a bearish momentum, after which we wait for a confirmation to happen in the form of a retest of structure, after which we look out for patterns on lower time frame that will support a trend continuation to the downside. So with this in view, let's look at what structure has been given us during the early hours of today, and let's see how we could take advantage of any potential opportunity lining up for us. So all this one no longer holds, and what I want to be doing here is to connect the series of lower highs since on the 8th of July. And what are we going to be having here? We have something like this, and it looks more like a descending channel at this point. So let's scale down to a much lower time frame and let's see what has been happening in the last couple of hours. So fine, we have a scenario ready. This is our key level at $102 area, which appears to have been broken during the early hours of today. We saw the breakdown of that key level, and then we want to be seeing a retest of structure, which appears to have happened. And one thing we want to be doing here is to take advantage of the bearish move to the downside from this point, as long as price does not go back above that key level here at $102 area. So looking at what structure is giving us at this point, we saw there is this rejection here. There is a rejection here, rejection of the $101 area. So let's see how this level is going to hold during the New York session, after which, so I want to identify this level. This is the $101 area. So it's appropriate to take any trade right below this level. So we have a level at 101. Excuse me. So let's go back to our 1 hour time period. Excuse me. So if you had not taken the move from this area that is below the key level here, we have about 80 pips from the key level. So if you have not taken that move, then we have an opportunity right below the $101 area to take advantage of a selling momentum. And where is our take profit target going to be? We look left, like we said yesterday, we have a demand zone at around between $95 area and the $98 area. So one thing we want to be looking out for is our take profit target to be right within that demand zone. So what we're going to be looking forward to in the New York session is a selling momentum here. If you had missed the move right from below the key level at $102 area, then we can be taking advantage of a selling momentum right below the $101 area, with the take profit target sitting at between the $95 and $98 area, which will dovetail to, let's see how many pips, at least a minimum of, let's say, 500-400 pips to catch here on the US oil. Now, in as much as we have identified this bearish momentum, there are chances that we could have certain surprises that might come up in form of a spike above the key level. And if this happen, I'm just stating this so that we prepare our mind just in case something contrary to what we've just discussed happens, which is not likely at this point because of the breakdown of that key level here. But if it does happen and we see price come above the key level, break above that structure, the descending channel we just identified, then a retest of this key level at $102 area would probably support a trend continuation to the upside. So if that happens, we want to be having our take profit target right at this bearish trend line we identified here. After connecting the series of lower high that began in the later part of June, we will be looking forward to a take profit target within that area if a bullish momentum happens, and that is right above the $102 area, which would dovetail to about $500 pips to catch here. So at this point, I would like to pause the video and let's see how price action plays out during the New York session. And if you have questions, you need further clarifications, you feel free to drop it in the comment section. I shall be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to go through the chart, and let's see what we have. So 5987962 is asking which time can I buy. Well, I just identified two scenarios here on the US oil, where I explained to you how I expect to take a possible buy momentum if it happens. And presently the structure we have here is more of a selling momentum, as we can see price has broken the key level at $102 area. And I told you that if you had missed this move, that is this move between the key level and this point, if you had missed that move, then you want to wait for price to break below the $101 area to take advantage of a trend continuation to the downside. However, I made mention that if a bullish momentum is going to happen at this point, then we want to wait for price to break above the key level, which also shares a confluence with the resistant level of the descending channel. We look out for a retest of structure, that is a retest of that resistant level, or probably the key level at $102 area, after which we look out for patterns on lower time frame that supports a trend continuation to the upside, where we can join and aim at a TP target at around $107 area. So for our selling momentum, I told you that we should be aiming at the demand zone we identified here, which is between the $95 area and the $98 area. So what we want to be looking out for is a take profit target right within this area. It could be at the top, it could be within, or probably extend as far as $95 area. So that is what I've explained so far. I think you should get what I just said at this point. Okay, 227, you're welcome. First time, you're welcome. Stay tuned with us, and if you have any pair you want us to look at, you can drop it in the comment section, and let's see how we can squeeze it into our schedule for today. So that is that on the US oil. So we move on to visit the UK oil, which we also deliberated on yesterday. And the UK oil is also tending towards a reversal pattern at this point. And what we see here is this. We can see how after they move from this demand zone to the up, it appears price has peaked at $107.70 area, and we saw price come back into the key level at $104, only to find a lower high, giving us a clue into the potentials of the sellers in the market at this point. So what we want to be looking out for here to give us further confirmation is a breakdown of the key level at $104 area, where that will only give us a signal. Remember, we don't get too excited when we see a signal. After the signal, then we wait for confirmations in the form of a retest of structure, after we should look out for patterns on lower time frame to join the decline to the downside. So just like what we have on the US oil, our take profit target for any selling momentum here falls within the demand zone here, that is between the $98.50 and the $101 area. So this is simple enough to understand, but if you think you don't do that, if you don't understand, feel free to drop a comment in the comment section to seek further clarification when needed. Now, in the case that we didn't see a breakdown of the key level at $104 area, then this appearance of a reversal pattern around this area could probably send price crashing and moving to the upside. But we are not going to take that trade unless we see price break above. If we look at what we have here, since the bullish move to this side, price peaked at $107.08, and then we saw price move to the downside to find a lower high. So I want to connect the series of lower high at this point to be our guide for any bullish momentum here. Hold on a second, I'll prefer using my line chart to have a more precise point. Okay, so we have something like this. So we want to be looking forward to a breakout of that area, a retest of that trend line to join a rally to the upside, with the take profit target sitting at around $112 area. So that is for the bullish momentum, but the bearish momentum should come if we see a breakdown of the key level at $105 area, a retest of structure that would push price further to the downside. So this is the scenario I'm looking out for on the US oil as well, on the UK oil. So okay, if you have questions, I'll give the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions before I move on to the next pair. Okay, businesswoman, hi, hello everyone, you're welcome on board. So that is what we have here on the UkOil. So we're moving on to the next pair we deliberated on yesterday, which is I think the GBPCHF. We talked about the GBPCHF yesterday, and this is what we have here on the GBPCHF. On the GBPCHF, we've been expecting a bullish momentum since yesterday. Hold on a second, let me do a clearance of the structures we have here. So we've been expecting a bullish momentum on the GBPCHF since yesterday. This is the structure we have here. The first thing we observed during the course of last week trading session, which we took advantage of, was this bullish momentum that broke out of the descending channel we identified on a higher time frame. We saw a breakout of that descending channel, and we were expecting price to come and do a retest of that trend line before we see the bullish move to the upside. Give me a moment, let me show you the descending channel we identified here on the 4 hours time frame. This is what we have. We have a descending channel that has been holding since the beginning of the month of June, and we finally saw a breakout of that channel on the 7th of July. That's the last week, which gave us that signal that we might be going bullish in the next couple of weeks. So now scaling down to a much lower time frame, the 1 hour time frame, what is it that we are looking out for to take advantage of this bullish potential? So like we all know from a technical perspective that after every impulse leg, we always have a retracement phase. And we do have an impulse leg that started on the 6th of July and ended at 1.17778 area. And this move appears to be a correction phase, that is a retracement of that impulse leg, which we were waiting for the culmination of that retracement phase to join a potential rally to the upside. During yesterday's session, I was explaining to you how to identify the culmination of a retracement move, where I said we should be looking out for a reversal pattern. It could be a double bottom structure, it could be a inverse head and shoulder pattern, a 1 to 3 reversal pattern, after which we look out for breakout of structure to confirm that the retracement phase has actually ended. But one key important thing we want to understand is this, that the retracement move must head into our golden zone area, which is between the 50 and the 78.6% of the previous impulse leg. So if we bring out our Fibonacci retracement tool at this point and run it through the impulse leg, we were aiming at between the 50 and the 78.6% of the previous impulse leg. Hold on a second. I'm sorry. I think this is where we picked from. So that's we have the Fibonacci retracement tool running through the impulse leg, and we were aiming between the 50 and the 78.6% of the previous impulse leg as an area where we want to be taking advantage of a bullish potential. So we identify this area as our buy opportunity zone, which is labeled, which you can see on your screen in the yellow box. So I want to delete the retracement tool at this point. So we were expecting price to come into this retracement, into this buy opportunity zone, find the reversal pattern within this area to join the rally to the upside. And for now, at this point, it is evident that we already have 2 rejections of that buy opportunity zone. We have one here. Hold on a second. We had one here during the course of yesterday's trading session, and we had another one here. In fact, it's a very sharp rejection of that buy opportunity zone, giving us a confirmation that we might be going bullish in the later part of the week. At least the remaining part of the week might be going bullish at this point. So what are we going to be looking out for in further to add to the parameters we want to be looking out for going into the New York session? We have the key level at 1.16500 area, as we want to be taking a buy opportunity right above that key level. And in addition to that, we have a temporary bearish trend line, which after connecting the series of lower highs in the retracement phase, we can see that a breakout of this area will further confirm that a bullish potential is on its way. So a retest of structure will give us further confirmation that we should be going to the upside here on the GBPCHF. So where will our take profit target be? So we identify our take profit target between the 1.18500 area and the 1.8800 area, and that was as a result of the projection of the Fibonacci extension of the previous impulse leg. Let me do that one more time for you to see what I'm talking about, and with the aim between the 127.2 and the 1414 area. So this is going to be dovetailing into how many pips? We're going to be dovetailing into around between 180 to 200 pips to catch here. So this is what we are looking out for on the GBPCHF. It is advisable to take advantage of this move right above that key level, or if you are a conscious trader, you want to wait for a breakout of that bearish trend line. You want to wait for the breakout of that bearish trend line, a retest of structure on lower time frame to join the rally to the upside. So this is what we are looking out for on the GBPCHF, and it appears price action is already taking shape in that direction. So I would advise that you be on standby so that you can take advantage of this bullish potential when it finally happens. Are there any questions so far on this one? Okay. All right. In the absence of no question, I would like to move on to the next pair. So the next pair we deliberated on yesterday was on the Euro USD. And what were we looking out for on the Euro USD yesterday? We were expecting a bearish momentum on the Euro USD yesterday. And what were we looking out for yesterday during our live session? The first scenario we were looking out for was that there is a possibility that price will probably come back into the key level at 1.01900 area, which also shares a confluence with the bearish trend line we identified yesterday, after which we'll be looking out for a reversal pattern from this area to push price to the downside. But that did not happen, as we finally saw the breakdown of the demand zone. We said yesterday, if we see price breakdown of the demand zone, a retest of that demand zone should give us a confirmation to join the decline to the downside, which actually happened. So if you took advantage of this move yesterday, kudos to you, as you will have taken about how many pips that is, almost 70 pips you have caught on this one. So with the scenario we have here at this point, since we are already in profit here on the Euro USD, how do we intend taking advantage of a move as we head into the New York session? Since we already have a take profit target already taken out, let's delete this, as we want to be looking out for further structures that will guide our actions during the New York session. So the first thing we want to be doing here is this. We can see that since price came into the $1 area, we see how the move came here. We saw our price came into the $1 area, and price has been rejecting that area in the last how many hours that is? We have like 4 to 5 hours. Price has been rejecting that area, giving us a consolidation phase, hereby pronouncing the indecision that has gripped the market in the last 8 hours. So what we want to do is to identify the structure here. The first thing we want to be doing is to identify this demand zone here, around here, at exactly $1 area. So let's label this for the sake of clarity. So we have a key level here at exactly $1 area. So we have a key level sitting right at exactly $1 area, and we also have a resistant level here at let's hold on a second. We have it sitting at around 1.003, okay, 1.004, level at 1.00400 area. Let's place this right at the top. So this is what we have here at this point. So going into the New York session, we already have a channel that price has been oscillating within in the last 8 to 10 hours. And one thing we want to be looking out for going to New York session is a signal that price is going in a particular direction. So now we have a key level at $1.00 area. A breakdown of this key level will be giving us a signal that price might be going bearish. But remember, we are not getting too excited when we see such breakdown. What we want to be looking out for is a further confirmation that will help us to confirm that price is actually going to the downside. So what we want to be looking forward to is a retest of structure. Price comes back into that area and go down to our lower time frame and look out for patterns that support a trend continuation to the downside. And when I say patterns, what I'm looking out for is a reversal pattern. It could be your inverse head and shoulder, it could be your double top structure, it could be your 1 to 3 reversal pattern. We want to be looking at pattern around that area to confirm that price is going for the bearish. So where will our take profit target be at this point in time? Remember, in the on the higher time frame, we still don't have a structure to play with for any selling momentum here. So what we want to be doing is to use our impulse leg to guide our action. And the last impulse leg we have here started from 1.0560 area and ended at $1 area. So we want to be extended this impulse leg into the future. And if we project that into the future, what are we going to be having? Sorry, hold on a second. If we want to be projecting that into the future using our Fibonacci extension tool, we should be having something like this. And then we aim at a 127.2 and the 14 between the 127.2 and the 1414 area as our take profit target, which falls around here. Hold on a second. Let's label this. Let's give this a label. TP targets. So we are going to be trying as much as possible to scoop more profit if price continue to move in that direction. So that dovetails to how many pips if price comes back, dovetail about 40 pips thereabout. And one thing we want to be doing at this point is this: if price comes into that TP target, we want to be looking forward to, if price breaks down that TP target and do a retest of that structure, we want to add more positions and join the decline to the downside here. So let me do a recap of what I just said here. We identified a channel between the 1.00400 area and the key level at 1.000 area. What we want to be doing here is this: we want to be looking out for a signal that will project that price is going in a particular direction. And if price breaks down the key level here at 1.00 area, remember, we don't want to get too excited, as that is only going to be a signal, as we want to be looking out for confirmation on our lower time frame, let's say our 15 minutes, 10 minutes or 5 minutes time frame, after which a retest of structure will give us a further confirmation that price is going for the bearish. And I said if price breaks down this TP target zone, a breakdown retest of structure could welcome an addition to our existing position here on the Euro USD. The other scenario we could be having here on the Euro USD is if price breaks above the 1.00400 area. That is, if we see price break above this 1.00400 area, we want to wait for a retest of structure. We look out for patterns on lower time frame that will support a trend continuation to the upside. However, considering the long-term bearish momentum here on the Euro USD, if we are taking this bullish potential, that is after this breakout of 1.00400 and retest of structure, you have to take into put it in mind that you are actually doing a counter trend opportunity, as it is appropriate we wait for price to come into this temporary demand zone we identified here yesterday and probably look out for a reversal pattern that will incite a further trend continuation to the downside from here. So if price comes above the 1.0400 area, we want to be looking for price to do a rejection of that demand zone to enter a trend continuation to the downside. So we have three scenarios to be precise here on the Euro USD. Let me quickly run through those scenarios one more time. A breakdown retest of the $1 area should incite a rally to the downside. A break above of the 1.0400 area should incite a bullish momentum, where we will be looking for a reversal pattern around the temporary demand zone to take advantage of a trend continuation to the downside here on the Euro USD. So these are my scenarios here on the Euro USD. If you do have any questions whatsoever, feel free to drop it in the comment section, and I will be willing to be of help in that regard. Hello Scott Benji, how are you? Good morning to you. Glad to have you around. 435, hi, how are you? Okay. Blake 664 says he can't see my screen. I will suggest you try and shut down your app and restart it all over again, because I can see my screen from my monitoring device here. So please do that. Scott Benji, pleasure. I'm pleased to have you around too as well. Okay, so in the absence of none, let's move on to the next pair we want to be taking today. Let's look at how many minutes. Okay, we still have some times left. Okay, let's look at the GBP New Zealand, which is one pair we were expecting a bearish momentum since the beginning of the week. Hold on a second, so I can let's delete this one so that we can have a clear screen. And we already have a signal already for a bearish momentum here on the GBP New Zealand. So let's go to the daily time frame, where I explained to you how price is caught within a sandwich of a supply and demand zone. Hold on a second, let's do this. Okay, so we said after the prior leading price action, we had an impulsive move to the downside from February. We had an impulsive move to the downside, and since then we have a scenario where price has been finding higher highs and higher lows at this point. And when price got its a peak at 1.96, we saw that price was caught within a supply and demand zone, giving us a clue into the indecision that is in the market at this point in time. And one thing about this indecision is this: if we look at the prior leading price action, we all understand that after every impulsive move, price normally does a retracement move into a golden zone area, after which we'll be looking forward to a trend continuation in the direction of the prior leading price action. Now, the inability of price to break above the $1.96 area, 1.96 New Zealand dollar area, is more or less a sign that a bearish momentum is imminent at this point. Now, when I look further into the structure, we can see that price has been respecting a temporary bullish trend line since the beginning of the month of April. As you can see, our price moved outrightly from this area, moved up into the supply zone, came back to retest that bullish trend line, but unfortunately the expansion that moved price from the previous low was not as strong as what we see here. And like I showed you yesterday, we can see that this moved around. Let's hold on a second. Let's see. We had a 900 pips move from the bullish trend line here, but unfortunately we had around 400 pips move from the bullish trend line here, giving us a clue into the inability of the buyers to actually push price below the 1.96 area. And if we look closely into what happened in the last 1 week, we can see that price had finally broken that bullish trend line to give us a signal that there is a bearish momentum looming in the corner. So let's scale down. We scale down to the 4 hours time frame. Hold on a second. Yes, we scale down to the 1 hour to the 4 hours time frame, where we identified that significant breakdown of that bullish trend line, and we saw a retest of the structure with multiple rejection, emphasizing that the sellers at this point are becoming stronger. So in order to guide our action during this week session, we were able to identify a key level at 1.94 area, as this is supposed to be guiding our action going forward. So, and the reason why we have a key level sitting around this area is basically because of the if we look left, we can see that this area at one point in time being a demand zone, and then price broke this level only to come back to become a supply zone. Then we saw a breakout of the structure, and price came back again to this area, making this area a demand zone one more time. But in the last 4 to 8 hours, we finally saw the breakdown of that key level, giving us the signal we've been looking for in the last 24 hours to take advantage of a trend continuation to the downside. So what we want to be looking out for is this. We want to be looking out for a retest of structure, that is a retest of this key level, or probably price comes back into this temporary bearish trend line, where we'll be looking out for patterns on lower time frame that will support a trend continuation to the downside. Now, dropping down to the 1 hour time frame, with the last candle we see here is already moving in that direction, as we want to be patient enough to wait for a confirmation before we want to join any decline to the downside at this point in time. So like I said, on the 4 hours time frame, what we want to be looking out for, since we already saw a signal, we are not getting too excited because we saw a signal. We want to see price come back into either the key level here, or probably come back into the bearish trend line we identified earlier on the 4 hours time frame, after which we'll be looking out for patterns that support a trend continuation to the downside. And when I mean pattern, I mean reversal patterns. And your reversal pattern could be your head and shoulder pattern, it could be your 1 2 3 reversal pattern, it could be your rising wedge, or your double top structure. So once we sight this pattern, we want to identify a neckline, look out for a breakout of that structure, giving us further confirmations on lower time frame to join the decline to the downside. So where will our take profit target be at this point? Remember, I told you we identify a take profit target within the demand zone we identified on the daily time frame, after projecting the previous impulse leg that we saw here. Hold on a second. On the daily time frame, we had an impulsive move. Sorry. Okay. Okay. So we, on the daily time frame, on the 4 hours time frame rather, we identified an impulse leg here. And if we project that impulse leg using our Fibonacci extension tool, what do we have? We aim at a 127.2, between the 127.2 and the 1414 area, and that's why we have this area as our take profit target in the meantime. So if we have a further breakdown of this area, then we can be planning of taking advantage of the trend continuation to the downside. But in the meantime, we don't want to be too over ambitious, so we should be aiming at this area between the 1.90700 area and the 1.91300 area, which dovetails to about 250 pips move to catch here. So this is the scenario we're looking out for on the GBP New Zealand. And let's see, I'll pause the video I'll pause at this point, and let's see how price is going to play out during the New York session, and I hope you will be on standby to be able to catch this move when it finally happens. Are there any question whatsoever on this analysis I just made here? If you okay, are there any questions whatsoever? Okay, Scott Benji is asking us to do USDDKK. Okay, we'll try as much as possible. We'll try to look at that after this one. Okay, in the absence of none, let's move on to the next pair. And the next pair we want to be looking at is the I think, okay, you said we should look at USDKK. Okay, let's look at that. Well, we're on a very strong momentum here on the USDKK, and personally I would just say that we wait for this impulse leg to end. This impulse leg, the only thing I will say here is let's wait for this impulse leg to end, and after which we now know how to take advantage of any move from this one. So if you connect the series of higher lows at this point, we have a uniform bullish trend line. As we can see, we have a uniform bullish trend line. So if you have missed this move from this area, if you have missed this move from this point, hold on a second. If you have missed this move from this area, then you want to wait for a pullback. You want to wait for a pullback probably into the previous structure and look for a trend continuation to the upside. And the previous structure falls around this area. You can see we have a previous structure around this area. Hold on a second. Let's see how that is. Let's give it a golden color. So we have a key level at sitting at $7.2. Yes, $7.2. Place it right at the top. Place it right on my right hand screen. And then we have something. So we have a key level sitting at $7.2 area. So we want to wait for price to come back into that level. We wait for a pullback, and then we take a, and if you notice, the pullback is going to also share the same. The key level shares a confluence with that bullish trend line also. So we want to see a pullback before we take advantage of any move on the USDKK. So for me on this one, I'm a long-term trader, so I'll wait for price to come back into that key level if I were you, to take advantage of any bullish potential here on the USDKK. So I hope I've answered your question. All right, Scott Benji, I hope you understand what I just explained so far. If you don't, you can drop a comment and let's see where we can be of further help in that regard. Okay. So let's look for the last pair we want to be sharing today. We want to be looking at today. Let's look at this already. This is already far off. Euro GBP is already far off, and hold on a second. We're already far inside Euro JPY. Okay, let's take GBPAUD. Let's take GBPAUD as our last trade for today. So on the GBPAUD, personally, I'm expecting a bullish momentum here on the GBPAUD. And why am I expecting a bullish momentum is the next question you want to ask me. So let's look at what is happening on the daily time frame. we can see that we have price caught within a supply zone. We can see every time price comes into the 1.78 area, we see movement to the downside from this area. So despite the fact that we have a long-term bearish momentum here on the GBPAUD, I still expect that price is going to break above that supply zone at one point in time, a retest of that area to do a further retracement of the previous impulse leg, where a trend continuation to the downside will happen. So scaling down to a much lower time frame will give us a scenario of what I'm talking about here. If we look at what has been happening since the beginning of the month of June, we can see that price has continued to find higher lows and higher highs. And what is that? Let me give you a visual representation of what I'm talking about here. We can see the first high here. Price came back to find a higher low, and then we saw another higher high, a higher low, and then we saw another higher high. Price went into that supply zone, and price came back down into 1.74500, and since that time price has been unable to go below this area as price continued to find higher highs and higher lows at this point. And if we look closely into what has been happening since last week, we can see that we have a temporary bullish trend line that will guide our action going forward. We saw our price respected this bullish trend line here. We saw it respected the bullish trend line here again. Here again, you can see our prices continue. So I'm expecting price to respect the bullish trend line here one more time. Now, in addition to this information we just gathered here, look at what has been happening since the beginning of this week. I think let's go to the lower time frame. This is going to be more clearer. If we want to look at what has been happening since the beginning of the week, since the beginning of the week, price has been oscillating between the 1.75330 area and the 1.75780 area, and you can see how price will been playing out within this channel. Price at no point came down below to where it started the week. And what did we see afterward? We saw a big boom to the upside. We saw a series of impulsive engulfing candles pushing price to as far as 1.7700 area, and this move I see here looks to me more like a retracement move, which probably could hit our bullish trend line or continue from the top of this area. So going into the New York session, what am I looking forward to? Now, we want to look for price to retrace back into our golden zone area, which is between the 50 and the 78.6% of the previous impulse leg. So where is our impulse leg here? The impulse leg started from here. That is where price action started this week and culminated here. So we want to be running our Fibonacci retracement tool. We want to run it through that impulse leg, and we want to be looking for a retracement into our golden zone area, after we should be looking for a buying opportunity from this area. So if we look at between the 50 and the 78.6 area, we have somewhere here as our buying opportunity area. Hold on a second. We have buying opportunity zone here. We have a buy opportunity zone here. Let's place this right in between. Let's give it a green color, and then our buy opportunity zone is always yellow. So we have this like this, and then we want to see a reversal pattern right in between within this box to take advantage of a bullish potential. So how do we cite that reversal pattern? So we already have this candle running at the moment, which is about is around 57 minutes hold, and we're yet to see how this candle is going to close. So one thing I'll be advising you to do at this point is to wait for this candle to close, and let's see what is happening on the lower time frame. Let's go down to the 15 minutes time frame and let's see what structure is giving us. Okay, so we have something like this where we see the move into this. We saw this move, we saw the bearish move. Price came into this area, and as soon as price tested 1.75850 area, we started seeing multiple rejections of this level, and it appears we are already seeing a breakout of that structure. We want to see a retest of structure to push price to the upside. So I want to make things a little bit more easier for us going into the New York session. So in order to do that, I want to identify a key level which will fall around this area. As you can see, this area has been a resistance point in the past. We want to see price break out of this resistance point to give us a further confirmation that the bullish potential is becoming more valid. So that area will serve as our key level going forward. So we should have our key level sitting at 1.76150 area, which I'm going to be connecting right now. So we have hold on a second. Okay, so let's label this area for the sake of clarity. We have a key level at 1.7650 and place it right at the top here, top right hand side. Okay, great. So that's what we have here. So we already seen this candle trying to break out of that structure. So let's wait for this candle to close right above. We wait for a retest of structure, and then we take advantage of that bullish move to the upside from there. So where will our take profit target be from this point in time? We all know what to do at this point. So we want to project this impulse leg into the future. And what do we have here? So we bring out our Fibonacci extension tool and run it through that previous impulse leg, and we take a aim at a 127.2, between 127.2 and 1414 area as our take profit target. So within this area should be our take profit target for this week here on the GBPAUD. So we have let's give this a yellow. So we have our TP target right here. So we want to have our TP target right in between. So we want to have it right. So we have our TP target sitting right here, and that will dovetail to how many pips that is. That is around 130, 140 pips to catch here on the GBPAUD. So like what I said here, we want to wait for price to break above, retest of that key level to give us a signal and confirmation that we want to be going bullish on this one. Are there any questions whatsoever here? Scott Benji, you're welcome. 356 asking for US oil. I think that was the first pair we did. You missed that, but I would advise you to hold on so that you're going to be around when I do a quick recap of what we did today. Okay, so in the absence of none, let's quickly do a recap of what we deliberated on today so far. So the first pair we deliberated on today was the US oil, and oh my goodness, aha, who took that move? We were expecting price to break the level of $101 area, and before the end of the session we saw that move to the downside, and that's like 175 pips move. Did you take that move? Did anyone take that move on the US oil? That's interesting. So we are looking forward to price breaking the key level here at $101 area to take advantage of that move, and before the end of the session we already saw that move to the downside, and we have our take profit targets sitting right at hold on a second. We have our take profit target sitting right between the demand zone here, between the $95 area and the $98 area. So we are still looking forward to price coming into this area before the week runs out. So let's see how price plays out from here. And if you had missed this move, and definitely we want to be waiting for a retracement move probably to retest this channel before we join the further decline to the downside. So we have a descending channel around this area, and price has already broken down of that descending channel here. We already saw a breakout of that descending channel, and we scale down to a lower time frame, look for retest of structure. If price does that, I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but if it happens, if we see a retest of the structure, then you want to join the decline to the downside. So our take profit target still remains between the $95 and the $98 area on the US oil. Then we moved on to the UK oil. We also have the same scenario here. We were expecting price to break below the key level which has already happened, and we have a take profit target sitting right between the previous demand zone we have here, and that is between the $98.50 and the $101 area. So if you are taking that move, kudos to you, well done to you for identifying that move. And we're already over 200 pips running in profit here on the UkOil. So we have a take profit target sitting around this area. So once that is done, just be content with what you have, and let's see if price is going to do a retracement back into this key level, after which we'll look for further confirmations to join a decline to the downside here on the UkOil. So we further moved on to the Euro USD, where we were expecting a bearish momentum. We took a profit yesterday, and I made mention of a structure. We identified a structure between the 1.0400 area and the 1.00 area, where I said a breakdown should give us a signal that price is going bearish. Then we wait for a retest of structure to join the decline to the downside. And the other scenario we made mention of here is if price breaks above this level at 1.00400 area, a retest of structure could push price to the upside, after which we want to be looking forward to a reversal pattern right around this area. You can see this area was a demand zone before, so it might be our new supply zone. We never can tell. Let me identify that. It might be our new supply zone. It might be our new supply zone. So let's see how price plays out. So if price comes back into this area, we want to be looking for a reversal pattern around this area, or if possibly retest this bearish trend line, we want to be looking for a reversal pattern or to push price to the downside here on the Euro USD. And now we went on to talk about the GBP New Zealand, where we're also expecting a bearish momentum on the GBP New Zealand. We already have the signal. We already have a signal here. We had the breakdown of the key level. The key level was at 1.94 area, and now I said we should be expecting price to come and do a retest of the key level, or probably come back, go as far as testing the bearish trend line, where we will be looking out for a reversal pattern to join the decline to the downside. And with this way structure is right now, if price doesn't go that far, then definitely I want us to use this area. If price breaks below this area, then we want to join the decline to the downside from here. Where is our take profit target? Take profit target remains between the 1.90750 area and the 1.91200 area as our take profit target, and that would dovetail to how many pips that is, around 250 pips to catch here. And then the last pair we talked about today is the GBPAUD, where we're expecting a bullish momentum here, and I told you how we're expecting a reversal pattern within the buy opportunity zone, and we seek further confirmation in the form of a break above of this key level identified here at 1.76500 area. If we see a break above of this key level, a retest of structure should give us a further confirmation of a trend continuation to the upside, with a take profit target sitting between the 1.77500 area and 1.77600 area as projected. So this is my scenario here on the GBPAUD, and we also shared something on the USDDKK, where I told Scott Benji to wait for a retracement move into our key level here at 1.72 area to take advantage of a trend continuation to the upside. So we are waiting for price to come back to our key level at $7.2 area before we can take an opportunity of a trend continuation to the upside here. So this one requires patience, and let's see how price plays out in that regard. So on this note, I want to thank everybody for being around with me. I hope you had a wonderful session, and I hope with the knowledge we've gathered during this session, we will be able to take advantage of the opportunities lying for us during the New York session. So on this note, I want to wish you all best of luck and let's see same time tomorrow here on Extra Speed Live. As usual, do have a wonderful day and bye bye.